Hi, I'm Sharon Ferguson with Century 21 Redwood Realty. I fully support TV 18, and as a 14-year resident of Lake of the Woods, I love life around the lake.
Hi, we're Diane and Keith Morris from Integrity Automotive.
And we support TV 18 and love life around the lake.
Hi, Norm Allen with you here from TV 18 Life Around the Lake. All of you who have been donating and helping us with our cause here to keep Project 18 and TV 18 going, I want you to know how much we appreciate that. I also want to remind you that any of you who would like to participate in it, you may do so by making your checks out to FLOW, Friends of Lake of the Woods, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and you get a tax deduction for all of your donations. You're the reason we're on the air, you're the reason it works, because at TV 18 Life Around the Lake, the stories are all about you.
Hello, welcome to Art for Life. I am your host, Pete Brown. Today we're going to do something a little more of an advanced technique than our previous shows, which are more for beginning. I've been asked by several students and folks, other artists, how do you create the effect of glass over a vase of flowers? So we're going to deal with that today. First, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit with this flashlight and this empty vase with some water in it. If you'll notice, when I shine this light, there's a highlight on the apex of the convex and the concave wherever I move this light. And since it is a solid object, it does have shadow. It has form, so you'll see a shadow. If I move the light, you'll see the shadow move. And where the water is, there's some reflection. If light goes in here, it comes out here, etc. These are the things we're going to explore today. And then I also will show you with this lovely vase of freshly picked artificial flowers, the same effect where the light hits the convex, the apex of the convex on the other side of the concave. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to begin that quite simply by first sketching in the vase. Now the vase, when we're going to do this, we've got to figure out where our vase is going to go, and I'm going to do it with a little bit of a gray. So I got to make some decisions about where I want it. I think I want it to be my vase right in here, a little bit of that one. This may not show very well for you yet, but I'll make it in a moment. I probably should do it with a piece of charcoal so you'll see it better. So let me do that so you can see it, and then I'll be able to retrace it for you. So I'm going to put in my line for the vase, the outside of it, there, and here. This is going to be my vase. Now the key on this is to make two ovals that match top and bottom. So if I come along here, get it down this way, because we've got to make this thing, it's rounded, it's got to appear round, it has to be the same height, both of these. I probably should take my ruler, make sure I'm hitting the same spot. If this one is 10.5 inches up, this one needs to be 10.5 inches up. 10.5, 10.5. Well, that was a pretty close guess. So now, the back side of that glass. And we've got water in this one, so it's got to have another matching ovoid shape here. So that's where my water's going to be. So now what I'm going to do is put that in now with some grayish color. Tiny bit. Not too dark, not too light. As Goldilocks would say, you got to have it just right. So we're going to have just all we're doing when we do glass is making the suggestion of solid form by highlights. It's primarily highlights. But the reason I've jumped ahead of myself here in explaining to you, what I have done here is paint a background. In previous shows, I talked about the importance of background And the background is the most important part of a painting, particularly with only 30 minutes to demonstrate this for you. So what I did to get here, I took a paper towel, took a plain canvas, dipped it in some burnt sienna, just rubbed it in, made a color, toned the canvas so I'm not dealing with white. So this whole canvas is underpainted with a burnt sienna. Then I drug some blue for the sky over this window area and made a raw sienna and burnt sienna mixture and white to make this tan colored, beige colored background. Then just drug lots of darker colors across this to suggest a tabletop. So we've got to have something for these lovely artificial flowers to sit on. So now I'm going to just get the outline of this vase so you can see it, so I can see it. We're going to suggest that it's a solid object. It's going to have some gradations in it. I'm going to take some white into here now and just kind of where it's going to sit. So I've got my background done. We're going to see through it. We've got to be able to see what's behind the glass in order to suggest that it is in fact clear glass. Okay, so now we're suggesting glass, so I'm going to go ahead and just make a couple of things here. I want to suggest the water is here. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a target there. Again, all I'm doing at this point is just showing where things are, where they're going to be. It's going to be harder for you to see down here at the bottom, so I'm going to put a little more white to that so we know where we're aiming. Our bottom of our glass is going to be here. Since it's against a dark table, it wouldn't be very white. The white is basically going to end up being our highlights that suggest to us, tell us that this thing is a vase. Alrighty, so a little more white and gray here off the palette here. Alright, now, so that's about all I need to do at this point to know where I'm going. Now what we got to do is figure out what we're going to put in this vase. So we're going to have some flowers of some sort. I showed you a moment ago a vase full of artificial flowers for this exercise. They needn't be those flowers, they just need to be flowers. So I'm going to quickly mix up a little green stem color. It's going to be very quick, very rudimentary, some kind of a yucky green. Let's green it up a little more. And for this right now, that'll be it. By the way, on all of the paintings that you see on the show, when they are finished, sometimes I won't be able to get them all completed in one sitting. But once they are completed, they'll all be on my website always. So some of the ones I've done in previous shows are already there at PeteBrownArt.com. So now we got to put some stems in here. So we're going to just very quickly, between the green and some umber, I'm going to just mass in a bunch of stems where things are going to go. You know, I've done all this work on this lovely background, and now my goal is to just get something on here that suggests that there's a bunch of flowers, a bunch of leafy thingies coming up, and we're not concerned with trying to keep everything in the background clean because we want to break it up. This thing, when it's done, we want it to be like, wow, look at all the flowers going up there. I'll mass in some flowers in just a moment. Right now, everything is about getting the stuff through the glass that we can see. So in a lot of florals, you'll see a lot of stuff like this, you know, and we'll make some bigger leaves, different kind of leaves. Right now, I'm just getting stems. I'll build these stems up here in a moment. So we have we want a bunch of them. Now, what I'm going to do now is take the palette knife and get some body to these things. So we're going to have that, maybe a tiny bit of purple even over here. So we're going to thicken these so we'll show them, because you can't see them against this dark. So we want something we can see. One way I can do that is to build mass. If I put a lot of paint on the canvas, it shows better, it catches more light. We also want to distort them a little bit below the water surface. So it's just a matter now of laying in what we think we want. Maybe some lighter color now down here to show. We'll do some of this stuff. In a minute, we'll come back and put some finishing touches to the leaves. But for now, it's a matter of getting something in here resembling plant life, whatever those are. And a little more of that light probably wouldn't hurt. I'm mixing up different blues, a cobalt blue and an ultramarine blue, and two types of yellow, a Naples yellow and a raw sienna right now. Maybe some primary yellow here. Just vary it as you go. Don't be too overly concerned about homogenizing the paint. The more broken up the color, typically the better it works. So we want broken color, lost and found edges when we're doing our paintings. So I think we need something going that way, out of here, a little thicker, and here. Oh, aren't those pretty? Look kind of, again, what we'll do in a moment, we'll come back and redefine these things, but we just want stuff coming out so it looks like something that a florist might arrange. All right, so now I'm going to mass in some of the actual flowers, and let's see where they're going to go. So to make the flowers first, all I'm going to do is take a little color of some sort, a grayish, purplish, and I'm going to put some, I'll probably do some sunflower type things, maybe a couple roses. But for right now, let's just figure what's going where. There's going to be a flower back here. I'll put something there. I'll put one here. Those are purplish flowers. I'll have some yellowish flowers. I don't know where, but something here. We'll have some reddish flowers at some point too. Right now, everything should just be grays, kind of muted, nothing really starring. No, you don't try to draw them at this point. You just try to create an idea of where they're going to go. And my main purpose today is actually the stems and the vase, but we want to have some flowers, obviously, in a flower vase. So we're going to do that. Maybe a big old sunflower right here. Might do that. A little of this, that. Sunflower probably will be our biggest one right here, covering this corner, because I want to kind of kill that corner of that window. I had to be careful not to have this line intersect that one. If the vase and this connected in the same line, it wouldn't be good. It would kill the perspective. So there's a little separation there from this line and that. Probably not as much as I should have, but enough to go with. All right, so this, more flowers, one right in here. Why would you put a black flower, Pete? I don't know. It's a good question. Well, let's just not make it black. Let's put something else in there for right now. All right, so there's where our flowers are going to go. Now we're going to also need some broadleaves. So let's take some more of our greenish color. Let's pick some leaves that come out here. We want to just have something that's not all the same long leaves. And we'll redefine these as we go. But right now, again, what our goal is right now to get some shapes, some stems, some flowers. We just want this to look like, ooh, that doesn't look good, going in the same direction as the other one, so let's run something that way. All right, so just variety of shapes at this point. Something pulling down over this edge of this vase, so I don't have to have it all the same. All right, so now we're getting somewhere with what they look like in the background. Let's refine these leaf things, mixing colors as we go, probably not as on the fly. Let's put some color to those and make them look more like leaves. Where the light's coming from, the left side of the painting, it's going to kick off to the right. I had a leaf up there, I think. Let's get some of this grass stuff a little better shape, a little more color. That one's going to go in behind that one. And that's the key at this point, is what's going behind what here. Thicker paint at some point will be important. Some of them we leave as vague as they are because we're only suggesting that they're there. They're in the background. This guy is shadowed. Let's leave him kind of that. All right, so there. Little red into that green to break it down. Whenever we want to dull a color, we put its complement in it. So a complement of green is a red. A little tiny bit of red kills some of the intensity of the color. As we said in earlier sessions, we never want to paint with paint straight out of the tube. It is just usually going to be way too garish, way too intense of a color. A couple more strokes of stuff here. Let's get these a little more, catching a little more light. Here, we probably want to distort them in the bottom of this vase anyway, so they're not as pristine. And it looks like we need another one over here. Let's see what our palette knife will do for us as far as that. Yeah. So, alrighty. That's kind of, they're not showing very well. So I'm going to step them up again with a little more highlight of color here. We probably need to bring some more thickness in here to make them show. Not too bad, not where I want them, but they're better than they were a second ago. Let's put a little up in here, a little here. Building the surface makes it catch more light, and the more light it catches, the better it shows. So you'll see all of a sudden now with these little touches of a lighter color over the darker color, we get some volume. We get to see them. Yeah, a little better. And again, this is a 30-minute exercise to show you how to do something, and that's really my goal today, is to teach you how to do this kind of thing. A very, very dark table. I don't know why I chose that, but I did. But whatever color your table is, this would also work very well against a white tablecloth. Had I decided to do that, it would have shown very well with the contrast of the green to the white. But I didn't, so we're going with this. All right. So here, now let's put a little more volume on those leaves on top. We're getting on in time here, so I'm going to have to step it up. Now that's not very pretty, but here, we'll come back, do that. All right, so let's mask in a couple flowers, just since this is a flower painting. Hopefully we got plenty of time to get some things in here. What colored flowers do we want here? Let's do that, let's make that one a sunflower that I said was going to be a sunflower. At least it gives us a starting point. So our big boy right here is going to be a sunflower. So now with this, I'm kind of working wet into wet. So I've got the core of that in there. Now I need to start flipping some yellows in there for petals. So let's have it coming kind of facing out from us. Some of you were with me before, saw the sunflower painting. This is a very similar technique right now. Just flipping out some petals, not too fussy. At this point, I'm going to change brushes here for a minute. All I'm trying to do now is get them in there. If I get our vase done, I'll come back and fix these petals, make this thing look a lot more sunflowerish, and I'll put the rest of the flowers in depending on time today. So I'm using a combination of about 3 yellows here just to suggest petals, flipping in different directions, overlapping what's already there. One of the keys in this is what's in front of what. We want something to be, some flowers are behind the others, everything doesn't face us, everything can't look right at us, or else we'd have a pinwheel, which is not very, it is a mistake that a lot of beginning painters do. They want to get everything in the flower 360-degree view, and it's just impossible to make it look right doing it that way. So I'm working wet into wet here. So I very light touch with a heavy amount of paint to let the canvas take what it needs, and it will do so if you have a light enough touch on it. So yellow, yellow, a yellower yellow now on top of that, just touch again right now. So that's one flower. I want this to dry a little before I put the highlights of the grass on it. So let's make another flower. Let's go with, I don't know, some kind of a rose looking shape, peony shape. Let's do Let's do pinkish. So if we take some white, pink it down, a little green to kill it if necessary. But let's just put some sort of pink flowers in here. Looks like we got one right there. This kind of could be a, we'll make it into a rose later. But right now, I just got to get the outline shape of it. Oh, what the heck, we're doing roses. Let's do one for a minute. So now what I'm going to do is begin to shape it. I'm going to have this one facing up. This sunflower is facing this way. I'm going to have this rose facing up. So from the base of that rose, I'm going to have the petals coming up. One coming up here, coming out that way. Flip some over the back. Down into the inside, I've got to have it a little darker because we're looking at the center here. That's got to be tighter than the rest. Probably should have a little more of that purple in there. If I take the corner of a brush, of a straight brush, I'm using a filbert brush, by the way, to make these petals. That's a kind of one that's shaped like a filbert nut on the end. It's just kind of a rounded tip. You can see it from that, but that's where it is. Then this is a flat, is just a straight edge across, makes a nice chisel. So I can get points and those. So I'm going to get a little of this purplish color down into this like this. Again, I'm suggesting flowers here, so I got to have a center, which is in there, but tightly around that center are all of these layers of petals. So I've got the outline of that now. Let's go back to our pinkish color for this particular one, this flower, and we're going to flip some petals in. I went from a pink rose to a reddish rose, but that's okay. If I put more white on it, it'll be that. But it's what you're seeing here, though, is the suggestion of stuff, broken colors, lost and found edges, broken colors. Red's a very difficult color to work. I don't know why I chose it, but because I was sitting there looking at it, had some red, so I decided to make it reddish, pinkish. But we'll play with this in a moment to get it up to where it needs to be. Now, so I've got these coming in here. I need something to anchor that flower, which is something green. So it has to have some sort of base. So if I get some leaves coming off of it, I may need to make more leaf color, but I can make it more believable as coming off of there. Probably need to connect it a little bit. What you'll also find out in this kind of a painting, that everything needn't be perfectly aligned or connected, because you lose it all. You're going to lose it all, hopefully, in the mass. So we mass in stuff. We'll refine those in a minute. This is getting a little bit drier. One second here, I'll start on the vase part. Let's just get some more of this in here. I need to really work some flowers in there. Another pink rose maybe somewhere, since we started with the things. We'll just make these background so I don't have to fuss so much on it. So here's a pink rose back here. Well, he turned kind of purple. He's background, but that's okay. So we just get some suggestion of colors there. I'll overlap that more with the grasses. I'll put the blades right over it. That's another background guy. Oh, maybe it's a kind of forward guy. Let's do that. Let's get something, I don't know, a yellowish lily in there. Don't have a lot of yellow left here, but let's put a couple in there. Why not? That'll be something. I don't know what yet. Another one over here. We generally like to have our flowers in threes. Well, let's put a third one over there. And now this one over here in the light might be kind of hard to see because the light's hitting it from behind. It's probably not a good idea to put yellow next to yellow, but I did. We'll make some kind of flowers out of these. All right, so now back to grab some yellow paint here. Excuse me one second. Let's get some more paint. I'm going to get this yellow out. It's a heavier bodied yellow. This, I'm painting in acrylics. Right now I just grabbed some heavy bodied acrylics. So when I put this on here, it's going to stand up a little better than the regular. So whatever this flower is going to be, if I just use a lot of paint, it'll stand up, keeping the colors mixed, broken, unhomogenized. You'll be able to see it better simply because of the volume. I don't know what kind of flower that is, but there's one. And let's put a little more paint to make it stand up a little better. The heavier paint catches the light. We always start thin and work our way up. Fat over lean is a term for that. That could be a chrysanthemum. It looks like a little mum, so that's what we're going to go with. Look at the little mum. All right, we got a mum right there. Let's get a mum over here, but he's background still, so not much more than that. Let's build this one into a mum then. If we're going to have a mum, let's have one. There's a lot of little things going on in a mum, little petals, a million of them. We got that one facing kind of away. So, I don't know. I don't like the shape of all this, but I wish that one were higher. So we'll do something else up there. But we can live with it. Or we can put another. One more mum back in here. Just something to bring us up here. All right, so there's that. Okay, I think we can start on this vase. That's what I said we were going to do today, so let's get on with it. So what I'm going to do now is start taking some grayish color and defining this vase. So I'm going to start on the back side, and what I have to be careful of is all of my strokes have to follow the shape of the glass. It's a rounded object that comes down this way, then comes up this way. Down like this, up like this. So I have to follow that line on everything. So I'm going to do that. Let me get started down here. I'm going to go ahead and put this background in there a little bit. I have to emphasize those flowers a little more, probably. That's the bottom of our vase. Here's kind of our water line. I'm going to get it indicated here, suggest it. Probably a little more white on that, because back here it would probably reflect some white in between some of these flowers. Again, doing the backgrounds first is so important. And now, so on the front side here, where that water line is going to be the most obvious that are necessary for something to be reflective. More gray in the back part here, this water line here. It just takes very little to make it appear to be glass. If we just pull the whitish grayish tones over. Now that charcoal I put under there to show you is a little dark, made this whole thing a little darker than I'd like, but we can work with it. Whitish grayish stuff. Now down here is where it starts to look like glass if we're careful. Coming out the bottom is some light, as we showed you with the flashlight demonstration. I have to be careful not to pull too much green at this point into it. But let's start here. This is where it starts to look like glass. Right here, get on that, pull it. We use the white only for the highlights, the pure white only at highlights. And where this table meets that, I want something there. That's kind of small. I'm going to use it. I've got two whites on this palette. I have a mixing white and a titanium white. Titanium white is the most opaque color. If you say which colors are most opaque, most people would think black. However, that's not so. White is the most opaque color. If you're painting your bathroom and you make a mistake and you want to cover the whole thing and start again, don't paint black over it, paint white over it. That's the most opaque color. Titanium white is extremely opaque. So I'm just trying to make some highlights here. Now where it starts to look like glass is like right there, where I start to drag it over some of the stuff behind it. And it's just enough to make it look like glassy, shimmery stuff. Down here at the bottom, I need something with this corner. We also have, you know, besides the, I kind of messed that up, but that's okay. Broken lines, we don't want them perfect. Up here now, there's definitely light hitting above this water line. right over the stuff behind it. And I didn't get a very good lick there, so let's put another. Yeah. On the back side now, let's get some more, since we got, it's going to be grayish, but not black. Now, right in the middle of this thing, if the light's coming this way, I'm going to work on the shadow next. But there should be somewhat of a line right down the middle, kind of, sort of. So we're just going to indicate and suggest that. Where does the light hit the glass? That's what we're always concerned about. Down in here, a little bit there, a little bit in the back. Light hits the convex and the apex of the convex and the concave. When I put some shadow down here now, that's going to show us. So we got about a minute left. Before I go away, let me tell you what's important here. To get a shadow under this thing, because it does have form, I'm using a little black violet here. I'm going to pull it carefully like this. I'm going to also pull it up behind the thing. I'm going to run some up the wall. When it's all said and done, the shadow and the light are what's important in any of our paintings, and that's what it's all about: light, shadow, reflection. And for this glass exercise, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, give me a call. Light and shadow is what it's all about. So until the next time, I hope you'll join me for Art for Life with Pete Brown. We'll talk to you on our next show, and look forward to painting with you once again. I hope you'll make art part of your life. Thank you.
This is the crew from the Flower Cottage. We are excited to support TV18. We love life around the lake.
This is Michael from Red, White, Blue, and Brew, your neighborhood shop for beer, wine, and cheese. We love TV18 and life around the lake.